Welcome to your virtual coaching session. I'm your certified personal trainer and master life coach, Megan Stoddard. You've got me right in your pocket each week as we cover topics relating to weight loss, women's health, mental well-being, and the like. Also, you can create and enjoy a body that gives you the freedom and energy to do all those fun things you've always wanted to do with your family and live the life that you've been dreaming of. Let's get going on today's session. Hey, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here again. And today we are going to talk about something that has been a bit of a hot button in the health and fitness space. Drumroll, please. Although I guess you've already seen the title. So anyhow, without further ado, we're talking about body positivity today. And I have lots of thoughts on this. So many thoughts. So I'm sure that this will not be an exhaustive episode. It will not contain all of my thoughts, but it will contain the main ones. So, all right. First of all, if you're not aware, let me just give you a little bit of a back history on this movement. Okay, so the body positivity movement, it's something that really started back in like the late 1960s, although they weren't using the term body positivity back then. It started as an activism movement for the acceptance of and the advancement of rights for fat people. And so, I mean, even back then, I think sometimes we forget how forward thinking people were back then, you know? So anyhow, a lot of people laid some awesome groundwork for us back then in so many industries and so many important matters. Anyhow, I digress. So even back then, people were already calling out the diet industry as a scam. And that's a whole nother podcast episode to come. TBD. But then, of course, the movement and the perpetuation of the necessity of the movement spread like wildfire once the internet became more mainstream with, MySpace, message boards, and then eventually social media. So as I said, that advanced the movement and it also advanced the necessity of the movement, right? Because social media, while it's great for spreading good messages and helpful, movements like good movements like this. And, it also helps perpetuate unrealistic standards and pressures. And anyhow, once again, we're not getting into that today, but that's what really brought it more of a forward focus into a lot of people's worlds, right? So social media is really what started the movement with its name of body positivity. All right, so first, I want to talk about the things that I fully love and appreciate and support about the movement, because there's a lot that I really do enjoy about this movement. So first of all, I love the way that this movement challenges unrealistic beauty standards. I mean, hello, Photoshop. Celebrities on unsustainable diets, etc., right? And these are all things that existed even before the internet, right? I mean, I often just think about poor sweet Judy Garland. If you've heard the horrors of what went on behind the scenes on The Wizard of Oz, I hate to shatter your bubble, but it was an absolute nightmare. If you haven't heard, where have you been? Anyways, I mean, just the way that celebrities were pressured to go about their quote unquote health to maintain a certain image is horrendous. And yet people didn't realize that. They would just see, sweet little Judy Garland had this really thin waist and she looked like this and blah, blah, blah. While really she was existing on a diet of cigarettes and coffee, right? Which is obviously not healthy. So unrealistic beauty standards have been around for however long. Right? And it's only gotten worse with the advancement of technology, like Photoshop, like AI, like all these newfangled diets that celebrities try to promote while behind the scenes they are doing other things that are not good for them, but creating an image that they are trying to sell, right? So I love that this movement challenges those things. It brings them to light. It shows them for what they are, right? So I love that. I love that we're recognizing that these things, because again, back in the day, people didn't know. Again, there wasn't social media. There wasn't ways to get information out there. Like people who knew about it often had to sign like an NDR or I mean, just most people were not in that space. The layperson did not know about this. They just thought that was a natural look and they would try to do all these different things. That's why the diet industry existed. Again, another episode, but it was to capitalize on people wanting to attain these unachievable standards of beauty, of health, of appearance. And now we have more information, and now we are able to get more voices out there who know things. Okay, so I love that. I love that. I also love that this movement promotes the acceptance of all humans, regardless of body type. I love this because absolutely no one should lose out on a job because of what size of pants they wear. No one should be tossed aside because of how much space they take up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same of everything. No one should be no one should be dismissed because of their body size, because of the color of their skin, because of their sexual orientation. None of that should indicate your like if you're applying for a job. I don't know why the job example is what's at front of mind right now, but your skills, your qualifications, that's what should determine whether or not you get a job, not all that other stuff. So I love that we're learning to accept all humans, always. Like, people having more privilege because of the way that they look should not be a thing. Like, why does this even have to be a discussion? Anyhow, so obviously I really am a huge fan of that. I also really love that this movement helps encourage people to love their body as it is. I do love that. I have more thoughts on it, but I love that concept as it is, right, like that. Okay, I love encouraging people to love your body. You should love your body, always. Okay, and that's, again, something that I'm going to talk more about here in just a minute. Another huge part that I love about this movement is the mental health focus. This movement has a huge advocacy for self-love, for confidence, for the connection between your body image and your mental health, because that's very real. There's a very real connection between the way that you see your body and your mental health. Like, it's a direct correlation, man. That should be no surprise. And the thing is, I think for the longest time, people assumed that the only people who had body dysmorphia were people who were struggling with anorexia. And that's just not the case. Any human could experience body dysmorphia. And also, body dysmorphia it's a spectrum, and it's like a clear indicator of where your mental health is and how tied your mental health is to your body image. All right, so that's the overarching things that I love about this movement. Now, this is where it might get a little bit controversial, and it's okay if you don't agree with me on everything. But here are the things that I do not love about the movement. Okay, so in theory, health at every size, which is like, that's a huge part of it. Health at every size, like, it's a hashtag. It's like, you can look up HAEA or whatever. I'm trying to remember how they do that. Yeah. Health at every size. HAES. That's what it is. Health at every size. It's great in theory. It really, really is. However, I have seen far too many posts to count of people who are claiming to be healthy when their actions say otherwise, when their symptoms say otherwise. I'm trying to think of like the best way to put this. So there are plenty of people. I mean, you've heard the stories of, like, the grandma who lived until 105 and her secret was to smoke a pack of cigarettes every day. Like, that's an anomaly. We know this, right? Like, don't actually take that as health advice. You know that. You're smart enough to understand that. It's similar. There are people, sure, who can have an obese body and have great numbers, have great blood work, right? And eat junk, and everything seems fine. The thing is, once again, that's not actually healthy. All right, so, okay, let's go a little bit further into this. Okay, so first of all, When you're in the obese category, and here's the thing, obesity, it's measurable. It's not just something that you can just be like, oh, I'm totally obese. No, look at your numbers. It's actual facts and figures that can determine whether you're in an obese category. It's not a judgment, it's a category. That's all. Okay. And when you are in the obese or beyond category, your health is at a much greater risk than someone who is not obese. Okay, so once again, even if all of your numbers, all of your blood work, everything comes back looking great, that could really change in an instant. If you're not eating very well, if you're not moving your body on a regular basis, and you are obese, it's literally an inevitability before those numbers start to change, before your body stops working optimally. Okay, and a lot of the time that's going to happen even before you make it back for your next checkup, by which time it could have already turned into a very serious problem where it's going to be really hard to turn back, right? Not to say it's impossible. Plenty of people have come back from things like that, right? It is doable, but it's going to be a lot harder than doing the things right now to give your body its best shot. Okay, so being and staying obese, it creates, again, almost this inevitability for health issues regarding all of your organs, your joints, your mental health, just the general function of your body is deteriorating the longer you stay in that obese category. So, while yes, technically you can be healthy while obese, it's not a sustainable form of health. So again, in theory, health at every size is great. You can be healthy at every size, but if you want to stay healthy, it's very strongly recommended to get out of the obese category, because then that health is actually going to be sustainable and you're going to have much greater longevity. And a big part of my mission here is to help you to thrive in your longevity, to have great longevity. Longevity, if you're not familiar, that just means aging really, really well. Like, I hear lots of people say that they don't want to age, they want to die in their 70s or whatever because they don't want to live to be 90 because that sounds miserable. It's only going to be miserable if your body is not functioning, if your mind is not functioning. You can let yourself age well and continue to thrive in your 90s and beyond if you do all the things now. Okay, all right. So next, again, I am definitely a fan of having a positive body image. However, there are definitely people within this movement who go too far with it. All right, so now, hear me say this now. I go really in depth with my clients to help them love their body at all stages. So I am absolutely a massive advocate for loving your body as it is, 100%. And to tie in with that, I also firmly believe that loving your body does not mean leaving it as it is. Truly loving your body means taking care of it. When you truly love your body, that means you are invested in it. You are giving it its best chance to thrive. And you cannot expect to thrive with longevity if you accept your body as it is and leave it at that. You can think about it as through the lens of a mother. Okay? You love your children as they are, exactly as they are at any given moment. That does not mean that you just say, yeah, you're good enough as you are. Just stay exactly the same for the rest of your life. That's good enough. You've grown enough. You've done enough. You've worked hard enough. Just stay the same now forever. Do you see how ridiculous that sounds? Isn't that so silly? No, you want them to always be learning and growing and adapting and exploring their full potential. Always. And of course, you will always love them, regardless of whether they do all of that or not. But because you love them, you want the very best for them. And that's what it should be like for your body as well. That's what it means to love your body at all stages. You love your body, so you want the very best for your body. So you do your very best to take care of your body. Okay, and so in that same vein, I also often see people within this movement who take it too far and they just use it as like a permission slip to just eat whatever they want whenever they want. And now again, there's aspects of it that I do agree with. Like, I fully agree that we should not be shaming ourselves ever over our food choices. And I am planning on doing a whole other separate episode on shame. But suffice it to say for now that shame does not make for a safe environment for change. When you shame yourself, you hunker down and like you're closed off to everything, including change. Like you just stay hidden and isolated. Okay. However, so now that I've said that, once again, I've seen far too many people on their like journey of body positivity that include that they're just throwing out all the rules regarding food and indulging in whatever cravings come up whenever they come up. And it's just like the pendulum swinging too far the other way, right? So if you've been orthorexic, right, where you're like obsessed with following the rules, obsessed with whatever diet plan you're on or whatnot, that's not great either. And again, that's another podcast episode coming where we'll dive deeper into that, how to recognize it, how to get out of it, etc. Anyhow, and then they recognize it and then they swing too far the other direction where they literally throw out all the rules and they just take it too far. Okay, there's too many people using this movement as a permission slip to eat food that is reducing their body's ability to function rather than sustaining it with the proper nutrients that give your body its best chance. And did you know that when you're eating food that does not actually give your body what it needs, that's reducing your choice. You're limiting your choices, because your body's starting to shut down and cannot actually function. When you give your body what it needs, it increases. So I hear people say, well, I just don't want to restrict what I have to eat. You don't have to. You don't have to restrict. But if your ratio is higher on the end of things that actually improve your body's function, can you see how that increases your choice? It increases your agency. It gives you more freedom. Whereas if your ratio of foods that are harming your body, giving you reactions that you're not even recognizing anymore, it's reducing your agency because your body cannot even function the way that it's meant to. So do you see that paradox there? Okay. And again, probably, man, this podcast is going to be going on for decades with all of the things that I want to talk to you about. So that's a good thing. All right, so now that I've said that, again, I just want to remind you that there should not be shame in our food choices. I am personally a huge fan of enjoying ice cream, peanut M&Ms, those delicious Dubai chocolate goodies. Have you seen those? If you follow me on Instagram, you have already seen me talking about it because, man, did TikTok influence me on those things hard. And I actually got the stuff to make it. I've bought a few of the bars and treats and stuff, and then I got the stuff just to make it, and dude, mine is way better. Homemade is way better. Anyhow, so again, I love being able to enjoy treats. The thing is, it becomes a problem when, number one, we shame ourselves for it, and number two, when eating those things becomes the majority of our fuel rather than a treat to enjoy in the right timing. And right timing is, there's no rules around that. That's a personal thing that's something that I help my clients recognize and understand and feel in their own bodies. I've got a whole framework around how to recognize that right timing for yourself. No one else can know that for you. Okay. So that's when it becomes a problem. When you're not following your body's messages and when that's the majority of your fuel. Okay, it becomes a problem when we don't investigate the why behind our desires as well. And again, that's another topic for another episode that I've got on the docket. Okay, but there is a reason why you have desires. Sometimes it means, yes, that's actually what you need. And sometimes it's something deeper that actually needs to be fleshed out. Okay. It's often a cover-up for some uncomfortable thoughts, some uncomfortable feelings that we're not willing to face, and that is a problem. I know that's not new information for you. Emotional eating is not a new concept, but it is one that a lot of people don't know how to handle. Okay, and again, that is something that I work really simply with my clients. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me. We can talk about what that looks like, if that's a right next step for you. But those are the main things that I take issue with when it comes to the body positivity movement. And a lot of it comes from black and white thinking. It comes from the all or nothing mindset, which maybe I'll do a redo of that episode back on the 1.0 version, the season 1 version of the old podcast. I do have an episode on that, but not specifically in this vein. So if you're interested, let me know if that's something you would like to hear more on. I don't have that one on the docket yet, but I could certainly put it on there if that's something you want to hear more about, because that all or nothing thinking, I have never, ever, ever, ever seen all or nothing thinking working out in a helpful way. I've only ever seen it be a detriment. Now, with all of this said, I know that it is very likely that it is a very loud minority that utilizes the movement in these unhelpful ways. That's often the case. And like I mentioned before, as I've mentioned a few different times, I utilize some of these principles with my clients because they are very healthy. They are very helpful and beneficial. In fact, just now remembering, my first ever digital course that I created back in the day, when was that, like 6 years ago or something like that? I think that was, 2019? Yeah. Anyways, the name of that course was Dear Body, Love Me. And it was all about learning how to improve your health through loving your body. So I have clearly been a fan of that for a very long time, because if shaming your way to health, if shaming your way to weight loss worked, it would have worked by now. If it worked, we would not have an obesity epidemic on our hands. And speaking of shame, there is just no room for shame for being obese. Because the thing is, the size of your body has no merit on the size of your worth. Your worth is infinite regardless of what your body's up to. Okay, so there is no room for shame for the number on the scale here. There's no room for shame for the size of pants you wear. None of that has anything to do with how incredible you are as a human being. Okay. All right. So this, like I said before, this is far from an exhaustive take on my thoughts on the body positivity movement. So if you'd like to continue this conversation with me, I would super love that. I would love that. So just DM me on Instagram or email me. Those links will be in the show notes. Share me your thoughts from this episode. I would love to keep chatting with you about it. I would love to continue this conversation with you about it. And so just, reach out to me. Tell me what you agreed with me on. What did you disagree with me on? Are you an advocate of this movement? I would love to hear. So tell me your thoughts. That is all for today, friend. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for showing up for today's session. I know I love our time here together. If you do too, I accept payment primarily in the form of 5-star reviews, along with shares on social media. If you're ready to go deeper with me, you can get started with the Weight Loss Kickstart for only $15, or you can go all in on the Weight Loss Accelerator, aka 12 weeks of private coaching. Links for both can be found in the show description, and I will see you back here in our virtual gym for our session next week.